What a glorious day. Canadian Liberals, I'm not talking about the Conservatives, the Canadian Liberals are waking up after 6 months of a whole lot of nothing from this brand new government. They thought that Mark Carney was their golden goose, the one that would secure this amazing trade deal with Donald Trump. Every day that passes with zero trade deal and our economy loses hundreds of thousands of jobs. The rupture that Mark Carney's been talking about, yeah, it's actually happening. In fact, it's happening within our country. Their support is fracturing right in front of our eyes. We've had 6 months of promises and buzzwords and a whole lot of word salads. But Conservatives, we're not surprised at all. This is what the Liberals have delivered us for the last decade. But there's a big difference today. Our economy is imploding. And based on the polling data, Canadians strongly favor the Conservatives as the very best party to turn our country's fortunes around. Now, this temporary foreign labor situation is Canada's breaking point, and CBC knows it. I got an epic show for you today. Hopefully you watched my episode yesterday, which I covered the temporary foreign worker situation in detail. It will come in handy for today's report. Let's get into the show.
Why is it that they're shutting our own youth out of jobs and replacing them with low-wage temporary foreign workers from poor countries who are ultimately being exploited?
It doesn't matter what party you support. All Canadians understand Pierre's message. CBC just released a report on the temporary foreign worker program. They're currently doing damage control, in my opinion. It was just released. This is going to be a lot of fun. Oh yeah. I'm going to fact check the CBC's report. It's going to start off with covering some data sets, my favorite. Let's go.
The temporary foreign workers program. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre put the program in the spotlight last week when he called for it to be eliminated and claimed it's shutting Canadian youth out of jobs. So to break down what Canadians are saying and thinking about the program, we've got David Coletto. He is the CEO of Abacus Data. David, good to see you as always. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So based on your polling overall, I mean, how are Canadians feeling about the temporary foreign workers program?
Well, I think overall, it's pretty split. 40% of Canadians say they either strongly or somewhat support this idea. 30%, as you can see, are opposed, with everybody else saying no clear opinions or I need to learn more about it.
Let's stop and already start talking about it. Eliminating the temporary foreign worker program. 44% of Canadians say they're in strong support, and only 30% are opposed. That means 26% have no idea. And it's good that we're taking a look at this because I believe the people that are opposed also have no idea. When those people get woken up, share my video, Canada, they are going to flip in support.
Saying no clear opinions or I need to learn more about it. But it does show this is an issue that you're more inclined to think sounds like a good idea in the limited amount of information we can give in a survey than say, I don't like it.
Right. Okay. So it's not majority opinion, but it's plurality opinion. And 44% on one side of an issue in this political climate is a high number. And it's even higher when you go into how conservative voters feel about it, right? Which, if we put that number up, this may suggest why Pierre Poilievre has seized on this.
No, because us conservatives are woken up. We know exactly what's happening with this program. And we're like, why are we continuing to bring in millions of people taking over Canadian jobs? We are like, no, stop.
For coalition he built, he wants to keep together, and he's got a leadership review coming up. So
Absolutely.
What do we make of this
number?
number?
So if you voted Conservative in the last election, you are 4 times as likely to say I like this than oppose, or almost little opposition. And that's a signal that he's tapping into something, one, that they already think is a problem. Broader strokes around immigration, Conservatives are far more likely to put that as a top issue, and this aligns with, I think, where Conservatives are.
Right. Okay. So you can see why this is appealing for the Conservative leader to pick on, or to pick up on, excuse me, not pick on. But let's just look at the Liberal number, because this is where there's a challenge you've noticed here. And the Liberals, 37% support scrapping the temporary foreign worker program, 39% oppose. Boy, that's a fault line right through your voting
It
base,
is, and
isn't
it's
it?
why it's like the ultimate kind of wedge issue, right? Where your base is united, but you can split your primary opponent, in this case the Liberals, right down the middle. And interestingly, within that Liberal coalition, age also is a factor. So if you are a boomer who voted Liberal, you're pretty much opposed to seeing this program eliminated. If you are younger, if you are working, you're more likely to support it. So it's got a generational tone as well as this partisan tone that makes it a powerful political issue, which is why the Conservatives.
The 39% of Liberal voters do not know about the International Mobility Program that I covered on my show yesterday. This thing has blown up 1.9 million in 2024 compared to 200,000 temporary foreign workers. What is this program? As highlighted right here, the International Mobility Program is in order to bypass the temporary foreign worker program. So if they get rejected there, they're definitely going to get approved over here. 10 times more approvals in this than they do with the temporary foreign worker, and how it's actually displacing Canadian workers. Once that information hits the public and it's fully disclosed, boom.
And, you know, we don't go into that detail here in this graphic, but that generational split, that has been the secret sauce for Pierre Poilievre. He has gone after young voters and gotten young men in particular in a way that past Conservative leaders haven't been able to.
Right, he's tapped into the anxiety that they're feeling about the job market, high unemployment among young Canadians, feelings that the future's unsure, uncertainty created not just by Trump, but AI and a whole bunch of other factors means he is continually trying to hold that new Conservative coalition together that voted for him in the last election, which is fairly new. And this would be the kind of issue that signals to them, I hear you, I'm listening, and I'm going to push the government to make some changes.
Everything that they're describing is common sense. It is all based on common sense. Anyone with a brain would be able to look at this and say, we have too many people chasing too few jobs. We need to shut the door and fix this.
So as a final point, I mean, how settled is all of this? Because, you know, the Temporary Foreign Workers Program, very few people will ever interact with it. They have an idea of what it is, but they don't necessarily maybe know the full economic knock-on. But there has been a fracturing of the...
This is explosive information because CBC is admitting that Canadians have no idea what the Temporary Foreign Worker Program is. In fact, they have zero idea what the IMP program is, and that's the real story here. So if they know nothing about the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, just wait till the IMP is disclosed.
Census on immigration in this country over the last number of years. This issue, where do you think this debate could go
Well,
next?
it all depends on does it continue to engage on it. I think the Conservatives will look at these numbers and say, hey, I think we found something here. Maybe we're going to keep pushing. And we know from, for example, the way that Mr. Poilievre litigated the carbon tax that he can be successful at shifting even more of the public into his camp than into the status quo. For the government, I think there's risk here, right? It's how do you defend a policy that on the surface sounds wrong, but might be working for certain reasons. They've got to be able to be prepared to communicate it. So it all depends on, does this have legs? We'll see, but based on this data, it could.
How could they communicate it? It makes zero sense. Mark Carney's going to come out and say, well, the business community told me to get all these foreign workers. The Canadian citizens are like, why are you listening to the business community? Why don't you listen to the workers? Why don't you listen to Canadians?
Okay, so just on that, as a quick final point, it strikes me that this could be his exit tax for the return to Parliament, next week. Does it have that kind of potential, that kind of weight, do you think?
Look how scared CBC is. Yeah, axe the tax. They're worried because the axe the tax was a huge momentum shift for the Conservatives. They're taking a look at this temporary foreign worker situation. It's like, wow, this could actually break the Liberal Party.
Feels like it could. I mean, it all depends on if Trump or another issue can take control of the agenda, right? Pre-Trump, Mr. Poilievre was so good at setting the agenda. It was like almost like he was the government and the government was the opposition. I don't know if that will hold, but I think they're trying to find an issue that gets the public focused on something other than the relationship between Canada and the U.S. this might be one of many that they try to put in the window.
The economy is number one problem for Canadians. All Canadians. They're feeling the pinch. They're worried about their jobs. And now they're hearing that Mark Carney's going to cut. He's going to cut like we've never seen before. And people are starting to get concerned. The economy is already cutting hundreds of thousands of jobs. It's not looking good for the Liberals. Oh, this is going to be great. Now we have the panelists to have some fun with.
So, Kate, there's been a lot of different analysis on the temporary foreign worker program, right? Pierre Poilievre wants to get rid of it because he says it's a big factor in high youth unemployment. Other economists say youth unemployment is just a leading indicator of overall economic slowdown. And if there's an immigration stream that's affecting young kids, it's international students more than temporary foreign workers.
Doesn't that just make you sick and want to vomit? Oh, it has nothing to do. Economists are saying that it has nothing to do. It's just the economy's bad. Okay, CBC. David spews so much misinformation and disinformation. It's enough to make you sick.
So what do you make of the decision to go after this for these reasons when there is some data that suggests it's different things actually causing this?
Well, I think David spoke to the contrast that this can create between the Conservatives' plan for dealing with a sluggish economy and high unemployment. To your point, David, youth unemployment in some parts of the country is over 20%. This is a crisis, and so the Conservatives have come up with one proposal of several to look at addressing that. So this certainly creates some discomfort for the government in defending the status quo for primarily boomers or retirees that are comfortable. And then on the other side of that, young people or those trying to enter the workforce, which is obviously the coalition of voters that Poilievre is looking to appeal to. One other contrast that it creates for the Conservatives to take advantage of or for the Liberal government to try and defend is around organized labor. You had the Prime Minister initially respond to this proposal and say, well, I'm hearing directly from companies and corporations in Quebec that they need this program. If you're an organized labor leader in Canada, you're probably not thrilled with that message. You're not thrilled to hear that the Prime Minister might be prioritizing the needs of corporate Canada or corporate companies as opposed to that of workers. And so it's an opportunity for the Conservatives to, yes, seize the opportunity this creates with youth and the concerns around youth unemployment. It also creates an opportunity and an advantage, particularly as the NDP kind of struggled to get their house in order to talk about the importance of organized labor and providing those jobs for Canadians.
So, but Vanden, I wonder about this because the criticism of this program, obviously there's the stories of abuse and how people are taken advantage of, who come here from countries in need of employment, but also just that structurally it may drive down wages at the bottom end of the economy and the cheap supply of foreign labor also limits investment in business equipment and productivity. Not necessarily.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that unbelievable? CBC is literally admitting that it reduces wages and productivity in Canada when we have a productivity crisis. A straight up crisis. Now we have a youth unemployment crisis. And now we have an economic crisis. It's an everything crisis. And we also have a Liberal-led government crisis with Mark Carney, our chief economist, master negotiator, leading the way.
Unemployment, though. But here we are. We're going to have this conversation most likely when Parliament returns next week. And the facts around it are kind of jumbly. It could be a flawed program, but it may not be flawed in a way that is causing the problem that scrapping it is intended to fix.
Just wait till the IMP program is disclosed to the public and everybody's eyes are literally going to go, what? Are you telling me that you don't even need to apply for the temporary foreign worker program? You just apply for the IMP. You get right in 2 weeks, $230. Just apply online and boom, you're in Canada working, displacing a Canadian citizen. There's 1.9 million of those and only 200,000 temporary foreign workers. It is like boom. But let's continue.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think if you ask any Canadian across the country, do you think you should prioritize Canadians for jobs? Every single person will say yes, across partisan lines, right? I think the problem with this program, I think, is really just it's susceptible for a lot of misinformation. So companies have to prove that no Canadians want this job. I think there has to be an element of the same pay that they have to provide as well. So I think the problem is it's not easy enough for Canadians to understand, so therefore there's a lot of misinformation around it. So I think that's where we have to be careful about it. In terms of youth unemployment,
oh, she doesn't know about the IMP program. Just wait till Canadians find out about that one.
To connect to that, I mean, I'm sitting here in Toronto, but I have a lot of young cousins between the ages of 18 and 25, and most of them aren't looking for jobs that traditionally use temporary foreign workers. You know, when I think of when I was in government areas like berry picking, a lot of my cousins are looking for jobs in big companies, looking for internships, something they can leverage their post-secondary education for, and that's just here. So I don't think there's...
All right, we got to start fact checking. Who's applying for temporary foreign workers? Are they just cherry pickers or are there other jobs available? Berry picking. Let's find some berry picking. I find a psychiatrist for $250,000 to $400,000 a year to be negotiated. Oh, look, a truck mechanic, a welder fitter, a journeyman, restaurant manager, student recruiter, plumber, college instructor, cleaning service manager, business management analyst. I'm pretty sure her cousins that are 18 to 24 would definitely want to make $83,200 annually if they just got their diploma and they want to be a business manager analyst. Does this look like a berry picking position to you? We're having so much fun. Let's continue.
So I don't think there's as a connection to youth unemployment, and I think the things that have connected to it in terms of international students, the government has already cracked down upon. You know, there is significantly a lot less international students. We've seen post-secondary education, take that hit and have to not use that as a dedicated revenue stream. So I think in terms of combating this in the House, it's going to be clear for the Liberals to make sure they have a clear narrative around this and to make sure they can hit on misinformation. And I think, and then if they're able to do that and make it something easy to understand, I think they can be fine for the House, but also...
They're not going to be able to do squat. We got the data. Let's take a look. CBC published this report on September 4th. International student visas in Canada plummet. They always try to trick you. You know, it's all the way down. Let's go down to the pertinent details. In the first half of 2025, 302,000 applicants. Down from 400,000 the first half of 2024. Do you see how they just do first half, second half? If you double, that means 600,000 applicants this year. Last year was 800,000 applicants because they're only giving us half a year. And in 2023, there was 575,000, so well over a million. But there's something that CBC is not telling you in this report. Currently, this is already from last year, and so they're going to be taking in another 600,000 this year. There's currently already 1 million approved. That means the number's going to be at like 1.6 million student visas, if my calculations are correct. And yeah, that plus the current new applications, that's what we get. There's going to be people graduating, I know, but they're going to graduate and become an IMP right here, 1.9 million. That's surely going to go up too. Are you ready for the boom, boom, boom information? The CIMM. This is on the Canada's website. This is, you just go onto the Canada website and it says undocumented workers, November 25th, 2024. It is estimated that there is as many as 500,000 undocumented migrants living in Canada. Where are they? Why are they not deported? Yeah, why are they still working inside this country? Their visas have expired. Plus, we have all of those other ones that are active and current, and it's exploding upwards. And then we have 500,000 undocumented. And get this, they actually calculate how many people leave with their visas at the border. They started calculating that in 2020. But Juno News went out and asked for that information. And they said, sorry, Juno News, we're not going to provide you with that information. They're hiding it because they don't want to give that information because no one is leaving Canada. Wake up. No one is leaving once they come into this country. They're either working in the IMP program or temporary worker program program, or they're just saying, forget it. And they're one of the 500 plus that they don't even know about. It says, this is their words, not mine. It says, could be as many. It's probably far beyond that. We have no idea. And that number does not include asylum claimants in Canada. We started at 150 in 2022, and now we are surpassed 450,000. Ben Robideau on X provided this chart. 1 in 88 people in Canada are now asylum claimants based on new data this morning. This was from June 18th of 2025, but it's still relevant right now. This is insane. Here's the Juno News report. The government refuses to release data on how many temporary migrants leave Canada. What are they hiding, Canada? Let's continue.
But it oversimplifies the ailment, right? Youth unemployment is a problem. Is it all temporary foreign workers? No. To your point, and you've had guests on last week talking about how international students have had an impact. There's other factors at play of youth unemployment, which Kate's right. Youth unemployment is at a crisis level. We've been banging this drum for a long time. New Democrats have been advocating for significant reform. Immigration Committee looked at this last Parliament. They were nibbling around the edges. The New Democrats called for an end to closed permit temporary foreign workers, where the individual employer is in charge of that individual that comes in, and everything about that individual's life is now in the hands of that one individual. And the UN's report this past last fall suggested that that is a sense of modern slavery. So there's some significant problems with this. And I think what David Eby was talking about was not only the temporary foreign workers reforms that he's been calling for in British Columbia, but also a larger immigration issue. You know, when the federal government sets the limits of individual coming into this country, the provinces have to absorb it. It's an issue for housing, it's an issue on food banks, it's an issue on infrastructure like building schools and hospitals. And we've seen the tensions. You mentioned with Coletto about how the consensus is breaking down. It's true. I think this is a symptom of that. This is now going to be the pointed edge of that conversation about what are we doing as a country. Can our infrastructure, whether it's social or physical, keep up with the numbers that Mark Miller and Justin Trudeau were setting back when they were in charge of all this? And now,
oh yeah, of course. Blame Justin Trudeau and Mark Miller. Mark Miller's still involved. He's still an MP. It's the same Liberal government. This is not a new government. It is the same government with new lipstick.
we're playing catch up. Yeah. So what will the discussion be going forward? I think it's an opportunity to talk about youth unemployment, talk about whether or not post-secondary education institutions, who, and you and I, David, know this, we talked about this 20 years ago, when you start using international students as your cash cow and bring...
You know what makes me sick with these CBC is the Liberals could do no wrong. They've done nothing wrong. Oops, it was a mistake. Maybe we should look at it. We could fix this. No, we cannot. We need a new government. It's time for change. We need to put Canada first for a change. Yeah, and the best part is the Liberals are cornered.
I think that, you know, the government has a challenge here, having relied on over immigration for so long, for so many years. I think this was the real difference maker, the silent difference maker in the 2015 election, the move away from economic migration toward family reunification. I think that brought a lot of people to the government side, particularly in vote-rich parts of the country like the GTA. Trying to unravel that for the Liberal government is going to be politically uncomfortable.
Those good old times, my friends, are over.
Why are they over, Mark Carney? Is it because we got a nothing burger for a prime minister? He's promised us the world. What has he delivered? Just a reminder from Pierre Poilievre.
What kind of summer has it been for Mark Carney? It has been the Seinfeld summer. A big show about nothing.
A big show about nothing. CBC is scared. They know immigration issue is a massive problem and Canadians are waking up. Maybe it was meant to be that Mark Carney won and took over for Justin Trudeau's disaster instead of Pierre Poilievre, because everyone would have blamed Pierre Poilievre for the worst economic collapse in our modern history. Once this thing blows, Canada can finally break from this 10-year Liberal nightmare and finally elect a common sense government to allow us to be the most prosperous country on planet Earth. We have all the resources. We have some of the best people on planet Earth, but we're run into the ground by poor management. I look forward to providing you with these reports. I'll see you on the next report.